Uganda sits on the equator, but nobody told it to act like a typical tropical country. This place breaks every rule you thought you knew about Africa, about adventure, and honestly, about what travel is even supposed to feel like. Today we are going somewhere that will completely rewire your brain. Let me ask you something. When someone says Uganda, what comes to mind? Most people either draw a complete blank or they pull up some outdated mental image that has nothing to do with the reality of this extraordinary place. And that gap between what people imagine and what Uganda actually is, that right there is exactly why we are making this video. I want to show you Uganda like you have never seen it. Not the Uganda from a geography textbook. Not the Uganda filtered through someone else's limited experience. The real, layered, jaw-dropping, sometimes confusing, always fascinating Uganda that exists right now in 2026. Stay with me, because we are going to cover things that will genuinely surprise you, and some of this is going to completely flip your perspective. Let us start with something that most travel videos completely ignore. Uganda is landlocked, right in the heart of East Africa, and yet water defines almost everything about this country. Lake Victoria, the largest lake in Africa, the second largest freshwater lake on the entire planet, touches Uganda's southern border. But that is just the beginning. The Nile River, the legendary Nile that ancient civilizations built empires around, it begins here. The source of the White Nile flows from Lake Victoria at Jinja, a city that has quietly become one of the best whitewater rafting destinations anywhere on Earth. People come from everywhere to throw themselves into those waters, and if you have never felt the Nile trying to swallow you whole while you cling to an inflatable raft, you're genuinely missing something. Now here is where things get interesting. Uganda sits right along the Albertine Rift, which is basically a geological drama unfolding in slow motion beneath your feet. This rift valley has created a landscape of extraordinary contrast. You have got mountain ranges in the west, including the Rwenzori Mountains, which are also called the Mountains of the Moon. These peaks are permanently snow-capped snow. On the equator, in Africa, the Rwenzoris rise above 5,000 meters, and they are wrapped in clouds, glaciers, and a kind of eerie, ancient silence that you cannot describe until you have been there. Trekkers who make the journey through those mountains consistently describe it as one of the most otherworldly experiences of their lives. But let us pull back for a moment, because I want to talk about the thing Uganda is most famous for, and I want to do it properly. Mountain gorillas. Uganda is home to roughly half of the entire world's remaining mountain gorilla population. The Bwindi impenetrable forest in southwestern Uganda is where these animals live, and the name Bwindi is not just poetic. That forest is genuinely, almost comically difficult to move through. Dense vegetation, steep slopes, unpredictable weather. And somewhere inside that green chaos, these massive, gentle, profoundly intelligent creatures are just living their lives. Gorilla trekking in Bwindi is one of those experiences that people describe as life-changing, and I know that phrase gets overused, but here it actually holds up. You get 1 hour with the gorilla family. Just 1 hour. Rangers and researchers have habituated specific gorilla groups to human presence, meaning the gorillas are comfortable enough to go about their normal behavior while you are nearby. And in that hour, if a silverback decides to sit 5 feet away from you and stare directly into your eyes, you will feel something shift inside you. There is a recognition there that goes beyond words. You are looking at something that shares something like 98% of your DNA, and you can feel it. The permit system for gorilla trekking exists to protect the animals and limit human impact. And yes, the permits are expensive, but that cost funds conservation efforts that have actually helped gorilla populations grow over recent years, which is one of the genuinely hopeful conservation stories happening on the planet right now. Okay, shifting gears, because Uganda is not just wildlife and wilderness. The capital city Kampala is a place that demands your attention. Kampala is chaotic in the best possible way. It is built across multiple hills, which gives it this dramatic, rolling topography that you just do not expect from a city. The traffic is legendary and not always in a good way, but moving through the city reveals layer after layer of contrast. Markets overflow with color and noise. The food scene has exploded in recent years with influences from across East Africa and beyond. Rolex, which is not a watch but a street food made from eggs rolled in chapati, is something you must eat within your first 24 hours or you are doing this wrong. The culture in Uganda is genuinely warm in a way that tourists often talk about but rarely explain. Uganda has over 50 different ethnic groups, each with their own languages, traditions, and cultural practices. The Buganda Kingdom is the largest and most historically influential, and the Kasubi tombs in Kampala, a UNESCO World Heritage Site, gives you a window into a royal history that stretches back centuries. Walking through the grounds of the Lubiri Palace area, you get a sense of a culture that maintains sophisticated political and social structures long before colonial contact reshaped everything. And speaking of reshaping, Uganda's modern history is complicated and worth acknowledging honestly. The country went through periods of brutal violence and instability in the 20th century that left deep marks. But what is remarkable is the resilience and forward momentum that defines Uganda today. The population is extraordinarily young, with a median age that is among the lowest in the world. This is a country brimming with energy, entrepreneurial spirit, and an optimism about the future that you can feel in everyday conversations. Now let me tell you about something that most people overlook entirely when they think about Uganda: the birding. Uganda has over 1,000 recorded bird species, which makes it one of the top birding destinations on the entire continent. The African green broadbill, the shovel stork, the great blue turaco. If you are a birder, Uganda is basically a sacred place. If you are not a birder, the shovel alone might convert you. This bird looks like something evolution designed specifically to hunt your dreams. It stands over a meter tall, it has a massive prehistoric-looking bill, and it stares at you with an expression of complete indifference that is somehow deeply unsettling and magnificent at the same time. The wetlands of Mabamba Bay are one of the best places to find shovels, and getting out on a canoe at dawn in those papyrus swamps while the mist lifts and the world goes quiet is a genuinely special experience regardless of whether you care about birds at all. Let us talk about something that ties all of this together, and that is the question of why Uganda still feels undiscovered despite having all of this. The answer is partly about geography, partly about history, and partly about the way travel media has always covered the African continent with a certain laziness that misses the nuance. Safari circuits in Kenya and Tanzania get all the attention. Southern Africa pulls its share of visitors. And Uganda sits there, quietly offering something arguably more profound, more intimate, and more authentic for a fraction of the crowd. Queen Elizabeth National Park in western Uganda gives you savanna wildlife, including tree-climbing lions that are unique to this specific region. Tree-climbing lions. These lions in the Ashasha sector have developed the habit of lounging in fig trees, and researchers believe it helps them escape insects and get a better view of the landscape. Whatever the reason, watching a lion draped across a branch 20 feet off the ground is one of those sights that makes you question everything you thought you knew about what lions do. Kadepo Valley National Park in the far northeast is even more remote and arguably more spectacular. The landscape there is dramatic and arid, completely different from the lush green of the rest of the country. And the wildlife encounters happen without the crowds you might find in more established parks. It is raw and honest in the way that the best travel experiences always are. Here is the thing I want you to take away from all of this. Uganda rewards the curious. It rewards the traveler who does not need everything packaged and predictable. It rewards patience and openness and the willingness to be surprised. And in return, it delivers experiences that you will spend years trying to adequately explain to people who are not there. The gorillas in the mist, the Nile thundering through Jinja, the snow-capped mountains on the equator, the warmth of people who seem genuinely pleased that you made the effort to come, the birds, the food, the cultural depth, and that overwhelming sense that you are somewhere real. Uganda has been waiting for this moment. The question is whether you are ready for Uganda.